Welcome to All That You Need to Know. I am your host, Jesse, your friendly neighborhood J-Man, and today I'm bringing you all that you need to know about The Muppet Show.
It's The Muppet Show with our special guest star, Miss Ruth Muzzy.
In 1973, the ABC network placed an order for 2 pilot episodes based on Jim Henson's Muppets for 2 prospective series. One pilot was called The Muppets Valentine Show, and the other, The Muppet Show Sex and Violence. I know, right? Sex and violence? The Muppets? Well, that, in a nutshell, was the problem for Jim Henson. Because of the success of Sesame Street in the early 70s, the Muppets were branded as a kids' act. But Henson wanted to create something more, something that would entertain kids of all ages, as the cliche goes. Both pilots would eventually go on to air on ABC. The Valentine Show first aired on January 30th, 1974. The Muppet Show Sex and Violence, Henson spoofed on the growing use of sex and violence at the time in TV shows, aired after on March 19th, 1975. Neither show really grabbed at the audience's imagination, and both shows were ultimately passed on by ABC. This left Jim Henson and the Muppets in a little bit of a pickle. Shortly after ABC passed on the 2 pilots, though, CBS, who Henson had done a pitch review for earlier in the 70s, suggested that the network would be interested in a syndicated Muppet series, a family-friendly show the network could purchase for its affiliates to run once a week at the 7:30 to 8 time slot. Henson resisted at first. Because of the structure of television syndication at the time, Jim was afraid he wouldn't get the funding he needed to produce the show to his standards. His fears, however, would ultimately be assured when British syndicator Lou Grade bought the proposed syndicated show with the promise that Henson would get all the money he needed to do the show exactly as he wanted. Okay, this is the point in the show where I'm going to need you to pay close attention. There's a lot of unfamiliar acronyms coming up, and with short attention spans and all, I don't want any of you getting lost. You ready? All right. The Muppet Show ended up being produced at Associated Television Studios, ATV, in Elstree, England. The show would be broadcast on England's independent television, ITV, a network which ATV was a part of. From there, ITC Entertainment, the distribution arm of ITV, would sell the show to the US and the rest of the world. So, we good? You got all that? Right. The Muppet Show was a bit of a comedy variety series that was popular during the 70s. Family-oriented at its core, each episode was made up of a number of short segments and musical acts with backstage scenes cut in between. Those behind-the-scenes spots were really what made up the plot for each episode. The show featured many of the same performers that worked on Sesame Street, including Jim Henson, of course, Frank Oz, Jerry Nelson, and Richard Hunt. The Muppet Show was set in an old vaudeville theater, originally called the Benny Vendergrass Memorial Theater. Later, it was just simplified to the Muppet Theater because that's so much easier to say. The show starred Kermit the Frog as host and showrunner, along with characters like Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Gonzo the Great, Scooter, the Swedish Chef, and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. My favorite character, Beaker, wouldn't be added to the show until season 2. As part of the show, a human would guest star each episode. The beginning of the first season featured lesser-known celebrities at the time and friends of cast and the producers. But by the end of the first season, into the second, bigger names began flocking to the show. Stars like Vincent Price, Don Knotts, Milton Berle, Steve Martin, George Burns, Julie Andrews, all people that you probably don't care about anymore, all appeared on The Muppet Show. Little known fact, no celebrity appeared twice on The Muppet Show. The series had a number of recurring bits though, like Pigs in Space, a parody of shows like Star Trek, that featured Miss Piggy, Captain Link, Hogthrob, and Dr. Julius Strangepork. There was also Muppet Newsflash with the Muppet Newsman, Gonzo's Stunts, and Muppet Labs, where the future was being made today.
Hello, Mr. Booty Bookers. Booty, booty, booty. Well, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew here at Muppet Labs, where the future is being made today.
Because of the syndication agreement, The Muppet Show didn't debut across a series of channels at a certain time and date. As it turns out, the first episode aired on September 5th, 1976 in England on the ITV network. The series ended up running from 76 to 81 for a total of 120 episodes. But the spin-offs, they were aplenty. The Muppets appeared in 10 major motion pictures, starting with The Muppet Movie in 1979. There was also Jim Henson Hour, which aired on NBC in 1989, The Muppets Tonight, which debuted in 1996, as well as The Muppet Babies, Statler and Waldorf, From the Balcony, and The Muppets, which debuted in 2015 on ABC. Not to mention rides at theme parks, comics, and a whole bunch of other shit I know I'm forgetting. And that, my friends, is all that you need to know about The Muppet Show. If you like what you've seen here, don't forget to subscribe. And until next time, let's have Waldorf and Statler take us out.
That was a great number. I don't care what you say.
I thought it was dumb.
Maybe you're right.
Don't forget, if you like what you've seen here, tell your friends, not just the hot ones, and most importantly, subscribe. The show starred Kermit the Frog as host and showrunner, along with characters like Miss Foggy. Come on, motherfucker!